Well, here I am at Fort Knox. I'm a little disappointed, but I gotta say, if I didn't stop here, I would have been more disappointed. I'm actually at the Patton Museum, the George Patton Museum, a museum of armored and cavalry. It's closed on Sundays and Mondays, but it's a good place for me to film. There's nobody here because it's a Monday. But why I stopped was to just say a few things about what I did here in 1987. But I also saw this structure, and I drove all around the post for a while, and I didn't see any of the barracks that I did basic training at. I asked a few people, and they said basic training is no longer held here. Neither is the 19 Delta Cav Scout School. But ironically, which I appreciate, one of these barracks buildings is still standing. That's the exact building that, not the exact building, the exact design, the exact architecture of the building that I went to basic training in. It was, they call them the World War II barracks. So I guess in World War II, they were new. But when we stayed in there, I actually stayed in something like that, really close to that, when I went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas for medic training. There's my 9th Infantry Division patch, and I'm wearing my scout hat, and I'm right by a loud freeway. But this is named after Henry Knox. Henry Knox was the chief of artillery for the Revolutionary War. The sun's not cooperating. So yeah, Henry Knox, chief of artillery for the Revolutionary War, and he was actually the first Secretary of War when we became the United States of America. Today that would be the Secretary of Defense. I'm not sure what era or for what reason they changed it from Secretary of War and the War Department to Secretary of Defense and the Defense Department. Yeah, we used to, the door, let me see if I'm pointing out the right one. That door towards the back of the building, that one went right into the latrines or lavatory, would be all in that area. And then there was no wall there. You can actually go through either door, but this door, you go to the living area, or the stairs would go up to that second floor. I stayed on the second floor. Once again, this is not the building I stayed at Fort Knox. They probably tore that down. But mine, same exact architecture. Now I went over there and it's beautiful. They actually have buildings that look the same shape and design, but they're all brick now, like they had architectural design to mimic that with all modernization material. So that was really kind of cool to see while I was darting around the post just now. There are some armored vehicles here. I'm going to point one out. When I was a Cav Scout, the Armored Personnel Carrier, also known as the APC for short, went through a couple of different versions, modernizations. I was in the 113 Armored Personnel Carrier. This one here I've never ever dealt with. This is called a Bradley Fighting Vehicle behind me. So I get a good angle on that. That's a Bradley Fighting Vehicle. The one I drove around in, and if anyone's, I gotta get a new selfie stick. If anyone is watching this that watched my videos on my retirement, I had armored cavalry video portion. Obviously, for those who don't know me or watching this for the first time, I just retired June 1st. I did 32 years. First 8 were the Army. Four of those 8 years was as a medic. Second 4 was as a 19 Delta Cav Scout. And when I did my retirement ceremony, I had some pictures of me in a vehicle very similar to this, which ours was a 113 Armored Personnel Carrier. Let me see if I can get the driver's hatch. And I sat right in that area. This may be a 113. It's not the same version because ours had what we called a trim vane up front, which is basically this big heavy-duty plywood that flopped down. So when we went across bodies of water, keep us from capsizing, because these are amphibious. But pretty much it looked like that. It looked like that. And I'll be going up and visiting my friends I've mentioned before, Chris and Missy McCauley. Now, Chris and I met when I was active duty Army at Fort Lewis, Washington. We were both in this 9th Infantry Division. That's called an octafoil, but that division is no longer in existence either. And if you look off in the distance, I don't know what that one is. Way out there is a Sherman. There's a Sherman battle tank out there. There's some artillery pieces here, but a little disappointing. I guess, okay, so what was I expecting? I was expecting the Patton Museum to be open. I was expecting basic training at 19 Delta School still be held out here. I was expecting some going into the clothing sales, uniform shop, and the post exchange. I was expecting that they would have some Cavalry Scout memorabilia, some cross saber stuff. They did. It was very little of it though, being that there's no more Cavalry Scout school here for officers or enlisted. The weather's been raining off and on. I hope this lighting, because the way I'm looking at it, this lighting is terrible. The selfie stick is terrible. If I hold the base of the selfie stick, it starts twirling. But if anyone else is watching this, well, anybody else, that's an M60 main battle tank. I think that's the M60 main battle tank, which was in inventory when I was in the Army. Either that one is, yeah, I think that one was the M60 main battle tank. But I'll walk up to the museum. I went to this museum here in 1987. Actually, it may not be on the same footprint, maybe a totally different building. I can't find anything out here. No basic training's held out here anymore. It's headquarters for human resources. Maybe artillery, because I just heard a big boom, unless that was thunder. But still interesting history. I think it opened up, I think this base started in 1918. Ironically, I was just at the Woodrow Wilson Museum yesterday, and that's when World War I was going on. So, nope. Yep, definitely locked up. I'm gonna just be about an hour up the road. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow with Chris. Check out the museum. My buddy Chris McCauley. He was 11 Bravo infantryman when I was at Fort Lewis. I was a 91 Alpha medical specialist, combat medic. We went to Sinai, Egypt together. We were in 347 Infantry, 3rd Brigade Go Devils up at Fort Lewis, Washington. I'm walking down a little bit real quick. I'm going to show you another nickname for these armored personnel carriers. Especially they didn't have any armament up top. We called them cracker boxes, because that's what it looked like. There's one here with a big old target on it, and I'll show you what I mean when I get up closer to it. The drive's been going really good. I'm gonna probably be up at Chris's house about 8 p.m. tonight, and then hang out with them all day tomorrow. So let me show you this armored personnel carrier with a big target on it. Look at that. Shoot me here. Shoot the medic vehicle, so we don't help anybody anymore. I guarantee you. Now, during the Geneva Convention, probably up to maybe even the Korean War, maybe that was respected on all sides. Whoever was fighting who, if they saw a medical crest or any kind of medical aid, you kind of gave them that respect and saying, okay, let's not make that a target because they're non-combatants. Today, that would be a definite target right there. And you'd probably take out the troop commander right on the other side of that. I have never seen, even the medical vehicles we were in, they had these panels, and the panels would actually close halfway and be all green. And then I guess in peacetime or in cantonment, we can open it up, but it was only about 1 foot by 1 foot. That thing's like 3 by 3, that's huge, but we would never have that painted. That's just painted on there, probably just for an example. This is definitely not that. This is the same version of the other one that I pointed out, and I could tell right away as I look at them more. These are an older version of the 113 APC that I was in. But for anyone who's never seen them, this is the best example. I mean, there's really, operationally, and the way it looks on the outside, pretty much the same vehicle, track vehicle. This one might be a little bit bigger. And I'll show you the troop door on the back. It's kind of nice. Actually, maybe this is a good thing it's closed, because I got the grounds to myself. It's nice and quiet, plenty of parking. I'm really enjoying the walk, stretching out my back. So this is the troop door. I'd imagine if this opens, I'll croak. No, they did what I thought. They welded it shut. So if you want to have this ramp up in the closed configuration, and the driver operates it. I was the driver, so I'd operate this ramp. This ramp, as you see, the seam is here. This whole ramp would drop down in the event that we had to, like when we were loading it. There's a couple of pictures in my retirement video where the ramp is down and I'm sitting inside. But actually, for the most part, we would oftentimes just stop the vehicle and we just drop the ramp. It was that easy because this has very low clearance, but this door also would open. So if we were stopped just for a little while, didn't want to drop the ramp or whatever, you can actually actuate it from the inside and outside to get individual troops through the troop door, this troop door, but then that whole ramp would open up so you could have access. If I back away from it, you can probably tell the width of it better. There you go. Another target, another white star. Just look at any of the things we do today. You're not going to see those heavy colors of white, because people would use it as a target to center in on it. So I'm in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I'm gonna throw a short video on after this one. I actually took it before this on my drive in because people often associate Fort Knox with gold. So I took a video of the gold depository. It looks like a prison. And I don't know where it's at from this position where I'm at now, but it's only a 2-3 minute video. Then I had to go through the security where they opened up the back of the Penske truck to make sure I didn't have anything that they didn't want on base, on post. On post, I gotta get used to saying that because I'm on an Army post, not an Air Force base. But I'm gonna walk back to my vehicle now. Well, that's about it for Fort Knox. This was one of the stops I wanted to make when I did Route 66 last year. I wanted to go up to Chicago, then come down, cut down through Indiana and visit Chris and Misty, then come down here, hit this, and then go back out and meet up with Route 66 like in St. Louis somewhere, St. Louis, Missouri. So no biggie. I would have been disappointed had I not made it here today. Overall, I've been wondering, what it would have been like, but I am happy to have done this portion of the video. I am happy to point out that structure, the type of structure I lived in, both for basic training at Fort Knox in 1987 and then advanced individual training at Fort Sam Houston, Texas. About October 1987 I was there. You won't see those buildings out much anymore, and I could imagine that that's why they preserved that one, piece of history. I very likely could have driven right past the battalion, my training battalion. I wouldn't have known it. It's a beautiful property. It's like 109,000 acres or something. It's just huge. But I wouldn't recognize it. I didn't get around that much in basic training anyways. They didn't let us out. Except for towards the end, I did get to visit the, oh wow. Oh, hold on. I just saw something. Check this out, this is gonna be kind of cool. So maybe here's another little surprise. I just seriously just saw this as I turned around. There's a cemetery here, Armored Memorial Park. Oh man, I'm walking through a swamp in my tennis shoes. Okay, I'm at 13 minutes, so I'll make it quick. And I'll read it to you. Units within Armored Memorial Park, Major General Chaffee Jr., the father of U.S. Armor, dedicated his life and combined arms where cooperation and teamwork were valued. Okay, so let me pause it. I'm gonna walk into the cemetery and see if I see any notable people. I'll be right back. Okay, here's something a little bit of interest actually. This says, this little plaque right here, it says the first 3 chiefs, the armored force of the United States Army. So Major General Chaffee Jr. was cavalry, 1940-41. Major General, these are 2-star generals. Divers, artillery, 41-43. Major General Gillum, infantry. The armored division must be balanced fighting team of combat arms and service units of all equal importance and equal prestige. All right, let me go see if I can find anybody notable buried here. Okay, well, I'm an idiot. It's not a cemetery, it's a memorial park. There's nobody buried here. But when I was on that end, look at it. Doesn't it look like a bunch of tombstones? It looks like, I thought it was a bunch of tombstones. I thought people were buried here. They're different divisions, notable divisions. So right here, here's 17th Cavalry. Here's your Cross Sabers, 17th Cav, F Troops, 17th Cavalry, Vietnam, 1966 to 1972. It's hard to read. So these are all memorials to Armored and Cavalry. That's where the Cavalry School is here. 4th Cavalry Vietnam Unit citations. So I'm not going to go much more into this. I thought, although it deserves its due respect and reverence and honor, it's just, I thought it was some of the notable leaders of Armored and Cavalry were buried here, but they are not. It's not a cemetery. It's a memorial park. All right, well, that's 15 minutes, and if you lasted this long, I'm not going to punish you anymore, but I'll be leaving here shortly. Thanks for watching. Overall, I think it was a good visit. Like I said, had I had to pass it up, I would have regretted it. Wish I could have gotten inside the museum, but there'll be another time. There's a General Patton Museum. This is at Fort Knox. There's also one in California outside of Palm Springs. And, I just forgot the name of the place. I forgot the name of the town. But it's right outside of Palm Springs off the 10. And I always drive past it, and I really got to, it's west of Palm Springs. I really got to get to that one. All right, take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later when I'm on my trip. Like, subscribe, get out there and enjoy and visit your notable places in the United States, and follow along with me. I hope it's as much as an adventure for you as it has been for me. Bye-bye.